Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Sapphire and Steel event, in which the Sapphire Knight is added to the game. So let's get into that. As far as this knight, it is probably going to be mostly useless going forward. However, it does serve a very useful purpose for the Ward Lore event, if nothing else. But it gets to convert blue gems into yellow, which is pretty good for a lot of knight-related setups. And then gives a bunch of armor to all allies at a 3-to-1 boost ratio for every single gem that it converts. So if it converts something like 9 gems, it's 3 additional armor to all allies. Obviously, there are better armor buffs out here. It reminds me a lot of Templar, actually, in that it has like that red to green convert. It's kind of like the same way, some kind of beneficial thing for knights, and just that it does a blue to yellow. Similar to Templar, this thing is pretty much going to be like ultra situational. If I'm not mistaken, it even has a 1 higher mana cost. Pretty sure Templar actually has a 10 rather than an 11, even though they do pretty much the exact same thing. I'm not sure if his armor value is a little bit higher, but let's actually go compare real quick. I didn't actually do that before we started here. But just as an example, this is a very similar troop that already exists to it, that has existed as one of the first troops ever added to the game. It was in the cycle of when the game started, one of the troops that existed. But it ability got changed slightly over time. But yeah, it is slightly lower armor gain, not by much though. And has a slightly smaller boost ratio. So I guess that's what justifies the 1 mana change, is that the other guy gives ever so slightly more mana. However, this thing has a link, which works way better than the traits of the other guy. So overall, you'd probably want to go Templar instead of that thing. However, it is useful for the World Lore event, so I guess it has that going for it. But overall, it's the new troop's going to be pretty useless, especially when you compare it to Templar, since they're both basically the same thing, just obviously to a different color convert. Anyways, other things that we got going on. It is now August, so it is, of course, Autumn Imp available right now for the next 2 months, this month and next month, and it's going to be Spooky Imp, so on and so forth going forward. But for all of August and all of September in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest drop table, you will be able to find the Autumn Imp. I do not advise opening keys right now to try to get it. Wait until this Friday, because we're getting a new Mythic this Friday, so you could just end up waiting for that. Of course, we have another chapter in Sea of Carandera. We won't be going in too in depth, but I will go mention a new troop, because, well, we do have a new troop from that. We're not just getting the one from the Glory. We do have another one coming in. But other than that, we do have 10% to all Silverglade, 10% to all Knights, which will be pretty useful for the event that we have going on. And if you want to farm a little bit of Glory, you can get 5 additional Glory whenever you use the new Glory troop in your PvP team this week. However, it is a Vault weekend this weekend, so if you really want Glory, just wait till the Vault weekend. However, if you want to farm some Glory prior to that, you can do this. However, this is like about 1,000 Glory or so per hour, whereas if you go farm Gnomes, you're talking about thousands of Glory per hour. So it's probably just better to wait for the Glory event. But if you still want it a little bit before then, I mean the Vault event, but if you still want some Glory between then, you can still use that in your team. Just plop it into a PvP team and you'll pretty much be good to go. So next thing, event key drop table. It is for Silverglade. Silverglade, not the greatest of kingdoms. If we go over to Silverglade real quick, we can go see the drop table. Everything that you see here is available from the event key drop table, with the exception of everything marked as Silver Necropolis, which are obtained through the faction of Silver Necropolis. But a lot of old meta stuff like Elspeth and Christine X and Queen Aurora, a lot of stuff here isn't really meta in the current state of the game. They may have been in the past, and they might still be used as like utilities ever so occasionally. But overall, I would say skip on event keys this week. They're rather average in the current state of the game, even though some of them were like the most meta options in the game. But of course, dragons have come and go. Elspeth teams have almost completely been replaced with leprechaun teams. And just almost every single option here has been replaced with another option that exists within the game. And the 2 mythics that are here are both not really that meta either, and are like mid-tier at best for the most part. So yeah, probably just worth skipping on event keys entirely. Soulforge is actually really similar once we get around to that too. A lot of stuff just kind of worth skipping. Got 2 bad Soulforge weeks in a row. But anyways, as far as guild stuff, of course, we got World Lore event like every single week these days now. We have a really powerful token though, or medal. 160% skull damage and spell damage. These are obviously absurdly strong whenever we get these. However, our options to be able to use this week are rather weak, so good thing we do have a good medal, because otherwise they are pretty bad. So there's 2 teams I showed for this. Here's the cheaper one, and by cheaper I mean it doesn't use any mythic, but it is a rope dart with Sir Gwayne, Sir Quentin, Hadley, and then the Sapphire Knight to basically form into a Skull Spam team centered around Sir Quentin Hadley. Since you're restricted to a Knight restriction, it is great to have this guy in your team since he does give 50% mana start to all Knights while having a pretty decent Skull Spam. Overall, really good troop and pretty decent. I don't feel like a lot of people use him. Maybe they just use him offensively for a couple of teams here and there, but he's a pretty solid double converter. He's not as good as Divine Ishbala, but it's very similar to a Divine Ishbala setup in that it has a double convert into the 50% start. Well, of course, Divine Ishbala has 40%, but the things that she covers is better. But still, overall, really great option. And its double poke of 2 random enemies does stack. And by that, I mean, if there's only 1 enemy left, it will double tap it rather than single tap it, which is pretty good too, because if you like got to revive randomly on the opposing team, it'll concentrate its damage onto the one rather than wasting half its damage by only being able to hit it once rather than twice. And there's another team as well that you can end up using for it. Might as well show it right now. If we go head over to the troops, if we go over to the higher one, I built around Gaard's avatar, where we use Golden Cog into Gaard's avatar, and then basically just one-shot wipe it. We have this for backup mana generation, and Sapphire Knight to get it to half mana start, and yeah, that kind of premise. Might need to mess around with it a little bit. The restriction that we have is really weird, and if you don't have any legends, you're gonna have to go with like all like Knight Coronets and Paladins, which is gonna be really clunky. But there's not that many options for this event based on the restriction. It is definitely very restrictive this time around. But we did get a new weapon. We haven't been getting a weapon for every single one of these. However, whenever there's not a weapon, tier 3 is normally enough to get it done if every single person does tier 3 in your guild. However, tier 4, of course, if there is a weapon, is what you should go to, which is this week. It does cost a whole additional 250 gems for 500 total rather than the 250. However, you get a weapon out of it. And you also have enough to go get 2 full medals, which is going to be very beneficial this week because the medals are very strong and they're going to kind of be needed to offset the fact that we don't have as many good options. But as far as what we have here, it gains a bunch of armor and barriers, a random ally for every daemon enemy. So overall, this weapon's going to be rather average unless you're up against a pure daemon team. This is probably never going to be used, and even in that situation, it is so situational that it's probably still never going to be used. But probably like you'd get it for collection purposes, but you'd probably never really actually use it that often in battle, if really ever, since it's one of those like hard counter weapons that is going to be so situational that you're very, very rarely going to go and end up going for it. But anyways, event's kind of the same thing as always. Go for the highest rarity thing. I have 5 of the exact same thing, but you do generally want to go for the highest rarity. I'm not 100% certain at this moment in time if level actually matters on them. A rarity always does, but level mattered last week, but it hasn't mattered on most of the other weeks, so I'm not 100% sure yet. But if to be 100% safe, just take highest rarity and highest level. But you should only need to take highest rarity this week. But I will get confirmation on that later once we actually go and do it tonight and start getting our grind on. Speaking of all things that we need to go grind out, campaigns. We'll have the video, of course, separate as we have been for these, and we'll be doing all of them tonight on stream because none of them have a one-turn delay because I already know what all these tasks are. I just haven't done them yet. But yeah, they are all doable today, last I checked. Unless I misread one of them wrong. So, though, do make sure not to do your daily dungeons until you find it, because I believe one of the daily dungeon ones are here. You should always not do your dailies on Mondays, because there's a good chance they're used for these tasks. So just don't touch any of your dailies until you're planning on doing these tasks on the given day, on a Monday, because you're probably going to have to wait till Tuesday otherwise, because there's almost always like one task that ends up using it. But we got a new troop this week from this. We got this Shade of Curandera. It's going to be really annoying because it's Urskaya with immune to poison, which means, of course, Scorpius no longer works there, or at least not as effectively. But anyways, as far as what it is, it's a completely useless troop, and you have to have the pass to be able to get it, but it deals damage to an enemy, boosted by Doom Skulls, and then Conjure Doomstorm. Overall, never going to be used, completely useless troop. But hey, it's another troop this week. If nothing else, it helps get that kingdom a little bit more upgraded. You won't be able to get it maxed until, when's the final day for it? Until, what is that, 5 weeks from now? Yeah, the 8th week of campaign. It's the 3rd week right now. But until the 8th week of campaign, you will not be able to go and get it maxed, or 750 bought those bigger packs. But yeah, you'll be able to get it maxed then. And you'll be able to obtain it 1 month after, if you're playing free to play. You will be able to obtain it 1 month after the campaigns have ended. And yeah, It'll just be in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests like a normal troop after that point. Kind of like when a new troop comes in like through an event key or something, and then it comes in about a month later. It's pretty much going to be the same thing with this, except the timer for that threshold doesn't occur until the campaign is over, after all the 10 weeks are done. Of course, we're currently on week 10. I mean, up week 10. I wish we'd have a mythic. I mean, week 3. Anyways, next thing to go over, games. So, things going on this week. We got ourselves the Fire and Ice faction. We got that going on, which I believe is a yellow-blue restriction. Overall, for pure faction, pretty easy because it has that 165% reduction troop that gains a bunch of life. So one of the easier pure factions with potions, since he's just an absolute tank, even without potions. It's pretty insane how good that one troop is. You can literally just use the tank. I believe it's the rare too, the lowest rarity, yet you can completely solo the faction with just 4 of him. It's pretty funny. Wednesday, we're getting a new pet. It is a cosmetic pet, but it's pretty cute. So we got that coming in. Thursday, we have ourselves the class event for Archmages, which is a pretty decent hero class. Situational, but definitely pretty good. Has half mana start and a lot of purple gains. And pretty good just for casting overall. So pretty decent hero class. These really purple-oriented teams to really justify using compared to some other options, though. And other than that, as I mentioned, Friday we're going to be having a Vault event. So if you're looking to farm glory, looking to farm gems, gem-related resources, even souls, pretty much anything, this will be the weekend to do so. And just run it with a quick kill Rowan team and be good to go with like a Leprechaun into Rowan. And just keep quick killing Explorer on level 1, 2, or 3 difficulty. And if you're looking for pets, great weekend to go get pets. Doing 1 trophy casual PvP will net you a lot of pets throughout your guild to the point where you can maintain it pretty much every single hour. And if there was ever a time to farm pets, it'll be this weekend, that is for sure, especially if you're in a semi-active guild. So Forge this week, we have ourselves. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, we need to open Purple Stone, so I might as well mention the Purple Stone drop table. But nothing too good. I guess we have this one in Power Troop. If I'm not mistaken, one of the tasks, I think the very first task actually was to open a Purple Stone. But we have 3 good ones here. We have Greed. If you haven't gotten Greed yet, he's a good gold gain. Herd Master for the cleanse. There's better options these days, but he's still a decent cleanse. And if nothing else, he has a link, which helps a little bit. And this thing, which is an occasional Empower. The kind of teams it gets used in is very situational, but if you ever need a lot of red for a given battle, he tends to be okay for it. He also can be used as a blue counter for, of course, blue Guild War Day, which has come and went already, but of course for next Guild War you'd be able to use it for that. And everything else is pretty much just useless options for the most part, unless you just needed a copy of it. But anyways, as far as the actual Soulforge troops, nothing really worth going for, as I mentioned earlier. Another dead week as far as Soulforge. You can pretty much skip every single thing you see here for troops, which is kind of a good thing because it'll help you heal on diamonds. But yeah, every single one of these you can skip. This is theoretically usable in the event that we have this week, but I wouldn't really advise it compared to other options. If it was Gaard's Avatar, I would say maybe yes, especially since it's required for a White Helm upgrade, since there's not another Mythic there yet. But overall, I would probably just skip on all of these unless you just desperately need it for a Kingdom upgrade. Other than that, as far as weapons, I made sure to deliberately not grab this, just as a reminder that 33 new weapons were added in version 5.0 when it came out a couple weeks ago. And you do want to make sure you always go for these weapons if you are a completionist, because you will not be able to get these for months upon months. These are all useless tier weapons, these 33 new weapons that came into the game. But a good majority of people don't have them unless you bought them off the $5 flash offer things, which aren't really that worth it for those, since they're such useless weapons. But yeah, so make sure to remember to buy those every single week. We've had, what, 3 or 4 of them now? So make sure to keep an eye out for those. They're completely useless, but they're good for Kingdom upgrades. And if you're going for everything in the game, you do want to go pick those up. So there's 5 weapons that are craftable this week, all of which are useless. That are just obtained for completionist purposes. We have the shield, which you should go get through the event. We have this thing, which is the newest one, which if you're in end game or late game, you do want to remember to go pick up, since it's probably the only one you might be missing. We have Doomed Mask, which is completely useless. It's probably the most useless tier of the Doomed weapons. It just does a bunch of HP and stuff. They said they were eventually going to buff these and then never did. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But yeah, that thing's still useless. Crystal Point just does a Silverglade thing, which is super situational. However, out of all of these, is probably the most useful, though so situational that you'd probably never use it. And we have another useless tier weapon, similar to this other one, if I'm not mistaken. They cost the same thing, just different color. This is basically the exact same thing. Theoretically, if you're missing both of these, you could go for either or, since they're both just as new. But this one's been out for a while. But if you do want to go get it, it is available. and just another thing to go upgrade the kingdom for if you need a certain amount of weapon upgrades. So they're kind of just things that are useless that you would only get if you really just want to go for all the weapons in the game and for completionist sake and to get the kingdom upgrades. But overall, Soulforge, completely useless this week as far as all the drops that we have available. Anyways, let's get into teams. So a couple of them we kind of already went over a little bit, but for Warlord Event High, basically, you want to build around Gaard's avatar. The specific team ends up doing Golden Cog into Gaard's avatar. The restriction is specifically yellow and Knight, so not too many options that we have. And we can end up using a new Sapphire Knight to convert into yellow to help feed our very desperate need for yellow on this team. And Sir Quentin and Hadley will be able to synergize with that, and the fact that he does the exact same thing, converting a color into yellow, in his case, a purple to yellow, which ends up being beneficial because both green and purple this team does not use. Anyways, as far as a cheaper team, you can't get too cheap with these because of the lack of options, but Rope Dart, Sir Gwayne into Sir Quentin Hadley into Sapphire Knight would end up working out pretty well as a skull-oriented team. Who knows, it could even work better than the Mythic one, but it does use no Mythic, but it does use Rope Dart there. Your next best bet if you need to go even cheaper, which I didn't really show a team for just because I feel like it's going to be so cheap that it won't really be that effective, but using things like Paladins and Knight Coronet, if you really had to, they're super low rarity things that pretty much everyone has laying around. The only problem with that is it's going to fall off very, very quick in the event, and not sure how far it would really get you. But if you truly had to, Knight Coronet and Paladin is probably the way to go. But this is probably the cheapest, I would say, that would be very effective for the event that you can end up making due to the lack of options. Anyways, as I mentioned, we have the Frostfire Keep for the faction that we're going to be having tomorrow. It is a blue color, so you can use literally any blue meta team, like the Iron Gut versions, or if you want to go with Truffles, Truffle the entire time. But yeah, this is as far as Troll Double, King Gobtruffle into Maraji Queen. Pretty straightforward team that you could use for literally any blue faction in the game, and it works very effectively. And finally, for the Pure faction here, as I mentioned, you can literally just spam Frostfire Wraith. Not only is it the rare, so it's the easiest to get, you can metal it the easiest and max it out the easiest since it's the lowest rarity, and it's just the strongest. It has a 65% score reduction, and this does stack partially with a 25% score reduction if you're going with potion effects. If you're going with potion effects as well, you'll have enchant on all of these, so they'll get their mana up after 6 turns. Well, technically 5, because the first turn you already start with 2 mana. Actually, technically even less, because if you start with 20% mana start, you're already going to have 2 mana as well, meaning you technically start with 4 mana, not counting the explosion that you would also get from potions. So you'll be able to get a lot of mana starting off and get them up within several turns without even taking any mana for them, even though they're fully blocked. But main thing that makes this thing insanely good is that 65% score reduction into a lifesteal. And lifesteal does mean it does gain that life. So if it does something like 30 damage, or let's say 60 damage, because obviously it's going to be a little bit higher during the thing. But let's say it does like 60 damage, you will gain 60 HP. And yeah, it's going to be really good with that much score reduction. It doesn't have spell reduction, but score reduction is normally the more threatening thing for the most part. It depends on the battle, but more often than not, that tends to be the more threatening thing. It's also boosted based on frozen and burning. However, you don't really bother with that mechanic. You basically just go and tank up, keep stealing life, focus every single one of your true damage hits on the most annoying thing. Or never mind, you have to hit first enemy. But you basically just keep spamming it over and over again, and you just become super tanky and then win. Not the easiest stealth in the entire game, but with potion effects, it's pretty much just an infinite wall that generally won't die. And even if you do, you still have a triple backup that's just going to survive. So pretty straightforward faction in quite literally just using the same troop. And lastly, Archmage's class. There's a couple different ways you could go about this, but though the easiest way is to use a full AoE blue or yellow weapon that just keeps spamming Princess Elspeth into herself. So Princess Elspeth has Empower, and you could just end up destroying herself. This will create a bunch of yellow and blue yellow and blue into Dawnbringer will obviously feed directly into it. And you could do similar with other weapons that just hit all enemies. And yeah, that's pretty much the game plan for this, where you just kind of do Elspeth for all your mana, throw Dawnbringer or similar related weapon that will mana generate off of yellow or blue, and just kill it off of full AoEs. And you also get boost ratio per yellow on your team, which is mostly yellow. They might not be after Elspeth does her thing, however, at least starting-wise, it is a pure yellow team, which does give it a little bit more damage than normal. And if you're just going for the free battles, it'll be the easiest way to end up going about it. So yeah, that is everything to really mention about this event. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to go over it all. And as normal, we'll be going over all of the campaign tasks tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube. We'll be doing every single one of the tasks on stream. We'll also probably messing with the World Lore event. As normal, it probably has a little bit of overlap with some of the tasks, so it'll end up getting it done a little bit easier. So that's pretty much the game plan. We'll probably have the video up for it, hopefully tomorrow. It won't be as late as last week, as you can tell by this video getting up probably one of the earliest, or it should be by the time it gets up. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. I'll have to stream tonight as we do every night, and best of luck with everything. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you all so much for watching.